questions before we go on?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just got on. It took us about 15
I'm wondering where you are.
minutes to get on. So.
Oh, and Michael's here too. Michael,
yes.
is right? Great.
So
well,
we
you haven't missed much. I was just talking about how if we can be just really careful about either raising our hands when you want to say something or ask a question, or just speak really slow and try to, you know, listen carefully, because otherwise with this many people, we're going to cover each other up. I want to try not to do that. Okay, so our overall goal, as you know, is to do our first virtual choir. We're really excited about it. I'm a little bit sad that it took us so long to get here, but it's we felt that we had to learn enough about it that we felt that we could actually, you know, practice and actually do it. So we feel that we're at this point now, but we're still really learning. So bear with us.
Just too quietly.
The goal of this song, which is Donna, Nobis, Pacem, is to present this at the September 13th opening service.
Ooh.
All right. And assuming that if we're successful, etc., then we can talk about doing others, and maybe, you know, maybe we try to do something for the holidays, or, you know, whatever, for Christmas Eve. We'll see. We'll see how you all feel about it, you know, afterwards, because it is going to be some work on, you know, homework on everybody's part. So that's the goal. Timeline overall is tomorrow. You will be getting a lot of information from us. Some of it, which we're going to introduce you to tonight, just so you sort of know what you're getting. And then you will have basically 2 weeks to practice, learn the music, which shouldn't be hard for most of you, and record yourself and send it on to us, because the recordings are due by August 27th. Okay, and this information you'll get all this again in writing. Okay, so that will give us a little bit more than 2 weeks to put it all together. And we're going to
27th, you said?
27th, August 27th, yes. So, and again, I just want to point out one more time that I know that, you know, many of you have not recorded yourself before. You may not realize how to do this. You may need some tips. Please feel free to call us. I included on the document our phone number as well as our email, and we'll work with you one-on-one, because we really want people to be successful and us to have a good time. Okay. One more thing, and then we'll go into some specific. I know, I'm not sure whether or not you are disappointed, but we purposefully chose something that most people know and are familiar with, so we could spend the time on the process, because I think it's a little bit of an obstacle for some people learning how to do this.
Right.
When we do it the next time, then we will do more of a typical choir piece, because by that time you're going to be experts and you won't be intimidated by the process. At least that's our hope.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. There are no tenors. Okay. Okay, yeah. So in this situation,
Sam is waving.
a comment. We're doing Donna, Nobis, Pacem, and as if you remember, this is actually a canon or a round. So all of us are actually going to be singing the same part, just at different times. Now, we have about 24 people who have signed up, and we do have a mix of lower voices and upper voices. And because it's this type of thing, we are actually going to assign you a part. Okay, so you're going to be voice part 1, voice part 2, or voice part 3. Everybody is going to be singing for the exact same length of time. It just, when you come in and when you go out is what's going to be different, okay? And we'll go over that. So the reason why we're assigning you this time is because we're going to try to ensure a nice mix of the the lower voices and the higher voices on each entrance, etc. So I hope that you are okay with that. If you're not, tell me about it. If you do have a preference for some reason, certainly part one is going to be the easiest and the one that's familiar for everybody to come in on. But I think everybody's capable of doing it. So, but if you do have a preference, if you want to give me a quick note tomorrow after you get all the information, that would be helpful to us, so that then we can assign all the parts. Okay. You know what I would really love to see, if I can see a show of hands, is there anybody who is concerned or really wants one specific time, or can we go ahead and assign parts? Anybody concerned about that?
Do it.
Do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Randy, time of what?
I'm sorry, I'm echoing. What, is this Michael?
Yes.
Okay, and try to ask the
You
question.
said if anybody, you said if you want a specific time for what? I didn't understand.
Okay,
what you
if
meant.
you want a specific voice part in terms of when you come in. Some people might say, oh gee, I really would feel more comfortable because I know when to come in with part one, which we'll go over shortly.
Okay, I see.
And so, if you really do have a preference, I have no problem with that. But if we can just pretty much balance it out, it would be great.
Randy?
Yes?
It's Debbie. I'm thinking it would probably be easier for David and me if we can record together. So if you can assign us to the same part, that would be helpful.
Actually, one of the things is that we are asking everybody, and you'll see this on the thing, I'm glad that you brought it up, that any of the couples actually record separately.
Okay, all right.
When we do a virtual choir, we want to see every single face in a separate box. If you record together, we're not going to see that. So the couples, in my opinion, have a real bonus that they actually can have, the other person record them if they want. So it's sort of easier as opposed to a single person. It's like, oh, how am I going to do this? Although actually Chris and I both recorded ourselves separately. Now it's not that we're not together.
3 parts.
So if you have any more concerns about that, Debbie, if you want to bring it to me offline, but we really would appreciate that all the couples, that every single person records themselves separately, because that is the idea of the virtual choir, is to have all those lovely faces.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, thanks for asking that. I'm glad you brought it up. All right, so now let me show you some things here. You are gonna, let's see what you're seeing. You are seeing my screen now, I'm assuming?
No, with the files.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're going to see when I send you some information tomorrow, you're going to actually get a link to this folder. This is our Donna Nobis Pacem folder for our use. And so just this, it should look something like this. This thing here, I'm not even going to open it up, but this is a big document. I think it's, 3 chock full pages about tips on how to do this. So you're going to want to read that one in detail. It'll cover everything we did today, but much more detailed. You are going to see there are 2 pieces of music here. One of them is a lead sheet. We recognize that people learn differently. And so some people would like actually to see the music, even though they probably do know this, okay? So, and it allows you to plunk it out on the piano if that's the way you learn. So that's what that's about. And then, so there you have your lead sheet or your melody sheet. And then you have your 3-part canon, which is what we all are going to actually be singing, okay? And this is multiple pages, but you don't need to, here's, it's like a page and a half. Couple things just to give you overall information. You will see here, it says there's a 4-measure organ introduction. That's what's going to be, you're going to be working with. But what you're working with is actually an excerpt of all of the whole piece, because we have an organ opening, then the 4 measures you're going to hear and get used to, and then there's going to be an organ closing. So the choir is going to be highlighted in the middle, all right? So, all right. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. Now, all right, so you're going to have those. You also will see the 2 boxes that are music. And what those are is they're 2 audio files, and they're for 2 different purposes. I'm going to open one, and I hope that you're going to be able to hear it. Bear with me.
Randy,
Yes.
you're talking too fast. Please slow down.
Okay, thank you for telling me. Did you miss anything that I need to repeat? Okay, sorry about that. So here is, just to give you a sample, I will not play the whole thing. This one that says the training audio excerpt, this is actually Chris and I singing with the excerpted organ part. And it will just let you practice the part, okay?
Randy,
Yep.
Can I stop you one second? So, have people received the document already? I don't think I have one.
No, I'm sorry, you probably came in
okay.
after I said this. No, you're going to be getting this, the link to this folder and all sorts of information tomorrow.
Okay.
I thought
No, I did hear you say that. You're talking about it as if we had it. Maybe. Okay.
No, that's why I'm showing it to you. But you are seeing it on the screen, right?
No, I'm not. I should probably change my view.
Yeah.
What?
If we're
I had
supposed
the
to see
view
something
there.
on the, if we're supposed to see something on the screen, all I see is pictures.
Yeah, that's all you're seeing right now. This is an audio.
Okay.
So because it's an audio, right now all you're seeing is the little music notes.
Ah,
And
okay.
you're going to be listening, okay? But I did show both of the pieces of sheet music earlier. Did you see that?
I was on the wrong screen, but I see it now.
Okay, good.
I got knocked out of the meeting. I'm just back, so I'll just have to catch up.
Okay, not a problem. So this audio is going to be for your learning purposes, to get yourself familiar again with the melody line. And you're just going to hear Chris and I singing. I'm just going to play a very brief portion of it. But the thing I want you to get comfortable with or think about is that there are going to, and again, you're going to get this in writing. There's going to be 4 measures of 3 organ. And then you're going to be coming in afterwards. Now, this particular training audio is for everybody to use, but the timing of when you come in is actually part 1, okay? Just so you're aware, and you will see that in writing. Let me play this for a minute. Here she goes. Okay, so what you heard there was 4 measures, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Then part 1 singers came in and Donna, and so on. So this is for you to practice with, for those of you who need, practice with the actual intervals, etc., and the notes, but also to practice the timing, because it is especially important when you're doing virtual choir. You don't have a conductor. So the audio that you're listening to serves as your conductor. So you can hear the rhythm and the beats and the the upbeat, the beat on each, the first of the measure, the downbeat, excuse me, on each measure. So it is important to think about that. All right. Now, any questions about that at the moment? Okay. We also are giving you the final track, which is basically the starting of this project. And it actually has the same organ excerpt, but this is the one that you're going to be using for actual recording. So what you will hear is the same thing, and I will play it for you momentarily. And this one, if you don't mind, I'm going to play the entire thing. It's about, a minute, almost 2 minutes. You're going to hear the 4 measures of organ. You're going to hear the voice 1 coming in. Then you're going to be able to count if you like to do it this way. Those of you who are really familiar won't need to. You're going to hear 8 measures of voice 1 and them doing their part. Then you're going to hear voice 2 join. For 8 more measures, you're going to listen. And then voice 3 will join. Okay? Now, so what you're going to be doing is you're going to be actually listening to this, and we'll talk about equipment shortly. You're going to be listening to this on one device and recording it on another. And you're going to push the play button. If you have somebody to help you, they can do that. You're going to be listening, and as soon as you hear the music, you're going to put your face in concert pose. Pretend that you have people in front of you. Give a smile. Look like you're engaged. Yeah, I like your teeth, Barb. That was great. And you're going to just pretend that everybody's in front of you, because remember, that camera's in front of you. And then you're going to go on for those 4 measures that you're hearing the organ, and you're going to start singing, and you're going to hear singers singing, other singers who are Chris and I singing voice 1. And then if you're voice 1, you're going to just continue to sing your part. And then when your part is done, and you'll know when it's done, you're going to sit there with that smile on your face, or that engaged, interested look, however you want to say it, for the rest of the piece until you hear the last note of the organ. And then you want to wait 3, 4, 5 seconds afterwards, and then relax. The reason why you're doing the upfront and the behind, with being engaged, etc., is sort of just like you're in a concert. I mean, people are watching you, but it also gives us enough lead time on either end to be able to do the putting together that we need to do when we're forming the actual the track that we're going to, the virtual track. All right. So, likewise, if you were part 2, okay, voice part 2, you would be listening to the 4 bars of the organ. You would hear voice 1 coming in, and you would hear it, and you'd be listening to it for 8 measures. And then you would start singing with part 2. You would do the whole part, and then you would stop when you're done, and you have your pretty face on, or your handsome face on, and you finish it out. Part 3, you would 4 measures of organ, you would hear 8 measures of part 1, 8 measures of part 2, and then you're going to start singing with part 3. Okay? Now, I'd like to play that with you, because
Nice, Michael.
The idea of sending this to you with
pretty face
explanation would be difficult. Do I hear somebody has a question or no?
No, I'm just picking on Michael. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm afraid that I won't qualify if you have to have a handsome or pretty face, so improvising.
All right.
Engaged is good enough.
All right.
I'm not that either. So.
Here we go. At least I hope. Here's part one. Here's part two. Part three. Part four, still singing. Started out. Here's part finishing. Now here's the organ finish. And smile for 2 or 3 or 4 more seconds. You got it. All right. Questions about that?
Is that English? No.
No.
I
Wise
thought,
ass.
I
How did it sound at your end, Randy?
Okay, it's sort of, when it's playing it through Zoom is difficult. If you were hearing the original, it sounds pretty good. Why? What were you hearing?
Were we assigned numbers?
Not yet.
So how did we know what we were?
I'm going to find
Well-
out tomorrow.
Right. So that was just a general introduction, so that regardless of which part you are assigned, that you will have an idea of how you're going to be doing this. I had mentioned earlier, but I think perhaps everybody didn't hear it, that we are intending on, or I was asking if it was okay for us to assign parts. And seemed like everybody was in agreement that that was okay. If there are anybody who has a real concern about it, please write us like immediately or send me a chat even right now if you're concerned about it. Because our idea in assigning the parts is to make sure we have some nice balance of both the types of voices, the lower voices, high voices, and so on.
So when we come in,
Mhm.
it, depending on our number, we're singing that part.
We're
Correct.
singing the whole thing.
We're
You're
not
singing-
singing number one part.
You're not singing the whole thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's
Everybody
around.
will be
so you
singing the
sing
same
whole
thing.
Confused.
Everybody
starting and
will be
ending at different
singing
times.
the same 24 measures. It's just you will be singing it, starting it at a different time.
So you sing all 3 verses, but you stagger entrances, right?
Just like a round.
Correct.
Got it.
You
Yeah,
got
like
it.
around. Yeah.
Just like around.
Just like a round. Yeah,
Could you
David?
clarify terminology then? So when you say parts, you're talking about the actual musical part that we're singing, whether
When
it's
you enter.
or whatever. Whereas when you're talking numbers, you're talking about whether we're coming in at the second set of 8 measures or the third set.
Yeah, that's correct. And let me just go back to this, and you will again be getting this tomorrow. This is the whole 3-part that the choir will be singing. You will see it says 4 measures organ introduction, then voice 1 is coming in. And then you can see when voice 2 is coming in. And then you can see when voice 3 is coming in. So you will have sheet music that you can use to help you with that if needed. Okay.
If you have one of these at home, you can cheat.
David?
Yeah,
that's
I'm just
thinking of the
curious.
journey.
Excuse me. You'll be able to adjust volume from each individual to make everything blend?
Absolutely.
We will.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, that brings up a really good point. They talk about that you should be ideally about 2 feet away from whatever you're using to record yourself. And they say, please don't overdo it. You should be singing no louder than mezzo forte, because if you do it more than that, it may get distorted. And then I'm going to have to write you back and say, we can't use your track. Can you do it again? So so if you're too soft, I can always, or Chris can always raise you and raise your track. But if you're too loud, you may get distortion.
So I'm just
Go on. Oops, you muted yourself again. Oop.
okay. I'm just also curious. I mean, what kind of device are we going to be using here? I'm not clear on that.
Okay, I will
We'll get
answer
into
that.
that.
That's the next topic. Let's just make sure that there's no other questions about the music itself.
I'm a little surprised that we're not doing one repeat.
Well, yeah, okay. We theoretically could, but this is our first project, Dave, and we want to make sure this is doable for everybody. This is going to be taking hours and hours of our time to put this together. So this is sort of our practice piece. So that's where I think I have to ask for your patience and understanding that we are trying to do something that is very doable and that we will be able to learn as we go.
Okay.
Once we're adding, 28 tracks together, that in itself is going to be quite a task. So we wanted to make it doable. The entire piece, I think, will end up to be, about 2.5 minutes long.
Can you loop it?
No.
I don't think we would do that at this point. I mean, we could consider that, and we'll take that under consideration, hearing what you say. But at this point, not necessarily.
The problem with looping this, or even just recording one piece, is that you don't have the video. That's because you need to have the video of people with their mouths shut before they start singing.
Right. Exactly.
Unless you want to have them appear on the screen when they start singing and then disappear off the screen when they stop singing.
Yeah.
Which won't look as good.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you have
Just
to
play the
realize,
same thing over and over again.
Yeah. We really, we're taking, I think, a pretty big baby step here.
Yep.
And for those of you who are not actually haven't tried to do this, I mean, we've been spending months learning and attending courses, etc., and learning how to use this software, and we're still very new at it. So we have to do something that's doable, but we really wanted to get something, going for the choir. We really thought it was important, so we didn't want to wait any longer.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
David, did you have something else or not?
Nope.
No.
Okay. All right. So anybody else about the music, or can we go on with the equipment ideas now?
Let's go.
Okay.
Charge ahead.
Okay. Charge ahead. We will do.
Doesn't Sam have his hand up?
Doesn't he what? I'm sorry.
Oh, that was applause.
Sam's just waving around.
Oh, okay. I can't see that. So, all right. So what you are going to be needing equipment-wise is 3 things. You are going to need something that you can play the tracks through so that you can listen. Okay, so you need some sort of a listening device. It can be a cell phone. It can be a computer of any kind. It can be a tablet. whatever you prefer, whatever you have available to you. And just to say this now, if anybody's concerned or doesn't have enough things or whatever, we can help you with that. We could, you know, meet somewhere and do a socially distanced help if you need to. So, you know, don't let this intimidate you. So you need a listening device. You also need a separate recording device. Now, optimally, if you can use a cell phone, that would probably be the easiest. However, you can use a computer, you can use a tablet, you can use a camera. We do it with cameras. Anything that will take a video. Okay.
And record the sound.
And record the sound, yes. Exactly. Video, I'm sorry, video and audio. Yes, correct.
Be careful what you wish for.
The third thing that you will need is either, well, you don't absolutely need it, but it's very helpful, is a pair of earbuds or earphones. Because when you're actually doing the recording, we want to close off the sound so only you are hearing it. We don't want to be recording what you're listening
Right.
to. I want to receive recordings that it's just your voice solely.
I see. I
Okay.
was wondering about that.
Yeah. So now theoretically, if you can have the listening device, so the one that you're listening to, that you're hearing, that you're playing the track on, far enough away that your recording device isn't picking it up, you could, you know, use a computer or something like that, but you just have to be aware, which is why it's going to be really important for you to test out your devices. You know, on the training sheets that you're going to be getting, you'll see that we suggest that you record yourself. You know, play with it, even if you're just recording yourself singing "Row, row, row your boat." I mean, don't even think about what you're doing for the music yet, you know, because you're sort of doing two things. You're preparing the music and how to do that, but you're also having to figure out how you're going to be doing the video recording. So, yep, Kath?
So when I'm sitting here listening to you right now, I have my earbuds in, and Don can't hear your voice. I hear you only here. So I could probably use the earbuds for the computer and sing into the computer.
Yep, as long as you have a microphone and
You can
a
hear me,
camera
so I
on
guess
your
I do.
computer.
You can hear me, so we're good.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So,
Cool.
wait, but
I knew you did, but I just wanted to be
Yeah,
clear
got it.
because I mean I have a computer that has no camera on it. You know,
Okay.
plenty
I'm
of
lucky
people
I can
do.
just sit here, do it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So some people would even do it using the Zoom. You can actually record yourself on Zoom. In fact,
Oh.
Chris, I think, is recording us now.
Yes.
Because we figured that somebody might ask for the recording of this meeting.
Yeah. Michael wants to say. Michael.
Yes. So questions
Randy?
about equipment.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Hey, Jessica.
So it sounded to me as, can you hear me,
Yep.
Randy? Okay.
Yes.
It sounded to me as though you just contradicted yourself because and I heard you in the beginning say that you would need two devices, but Kathy was suggesting that she could listen and record on the same device. Can you clarify that?
Okay, I think I misunderstood what she said. I was thinking that she was listening to us through another device.
No, I have earbuds, my earbuds plugged into the computer, so nobody else can hear it.
Okay, most probably you will not be able to do that. You can try it. However, in most cases, what will happen is as soon as you start recording while you're listening, you're not going to be able to hear anymore. It's going to cut out. We actually tried it on our cell phones the other day because we were like, why does this, why do we have to do two devices, etc. There are some exceptions to the rule, but probably 99.9 of you will have to use two different devices. I'm sorry I misunderstood where you were coming from there.
So if I can rephrase, I mean, what I understand, what she's saying now is you can use your computer to listen, but you'll need a cell phone or something a different device to record on.
Or vice versa, that's correct.
Yes, right.
Exactly. Great clarification. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions about equipment?
Yeah. Just one thing. What about format? Does it matter?
Okay, you will see in your, that's just one of those things I wasn't going to bring up today. But it is listed in your thing that you want to use portrait mode of, so you want to have taller than fat. You know, we don't want landscape because we're going to be trying to fit as many, you know, and we want the same size. If you send us the video being in the wrong direction, then we're going to have to do cropping and expanding, and that means that it might make your picture blurrier or, you know, etc. So it would be helpful for everybody to do it in portrait.
Actually, I wasn't thinking in terms of the video format, but the file. MP3 versus...
Doesn't matter as long, well, it can't be an MP3 because you're going to be sending me a video. So it can be an MP4 or an MOV. Basically anything that's video and sound. So it's got to be video and audio together.
So what we're doing right now won't work because these are all in landscape. We're all sitting here looking at you in landscape.
That is correct.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Jan?
So there's always the issue, at least for me, even being on these meetings, that if I'm trying to look at music or something, it's very hard to look at the camera. So you wind up with these videos where, you know, someone's looking like 2 inches below the camera.
Right.
It's very disconcerting. Can you talk about that? Did you guys look at it too?
That's another reason why we're using the song We Are and doing it the way we are, is because there's very few words in this. Once you practice it enough, I would suspect that most people are going to be able to do it from memory, and you shouldn't have to look at music. However, and Chris, you can chime in on this. We've used our music stands to get it up close enough so we can sort of be looking down, and hopefully, but even you'll see when we're doing, because since we're doing music every week, we don't memorize it all. We just don't have the time to do that. So you'll see us looking down. But music stand to prop it up. Sometimes you can take, you know, work some sort of a weird, you know, thing to hang up the music so that it's about the same height as the phone or whatever your recording device is, and then you can read it off there. Recently, we actually are using, this is a new thing that we were trying, we're actually showing our music on a great big TV screen behind the camera, and we wanted to see how that would work. So you sort of have to play around with it. The advantage in this case is that the music is, you know, very straightforward. The words are easy, so probably you'll be able to do it by memory. So Chris, did you want to add anything to that I missed?
I was just thinking that if you know, even pin or tape the sheet music if you need to a wall, and then hold your camera device pretty much in front of it or in line just to the side of it, it should reasonably work well if you need that. But hopefully, as Randy mentioned, it may be able to come out all from memory.
I'll memorize it. So, my only other question, you know, the whole idea of the ambient noise conditions, every room is different. Some of us sound like we're in an echo chamber right now. Some of us sound like, you know, I don't know, in a place with a lot of padding. So, and then there's always, you know, the guy going by on his motorcycle and you can't stop it. So, any suggestions?
Over.
Well, you're going to have to find the quietest room that you have. You're going to have to if you have a landline, turn off the ringer. Either don't have your phone in the room with you, or, well, if you're using it for part of this procedure, make sure that you've muted the ringer. And any email, if you get email notifications that bing in the middle, turn it off.
I meant more in terms of the room conditions, like, rooms with lots of soft, fluffy.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't want soft, fluffy cushions, a lot of them, because that absorbs sound.
Right.
But you may have to actually go around your house and do a couple, row your boats. It'll give you practice recording, and it'll also give you an idea what your recording is going to sound like. But I mean, we started in the beginning of the year, we were doing all of our recording in one room, and we decided now we're doing it between 3 rooms, depending on the time of day, how the light is coming in, etc. So you really, that's one of, I hate to say it, but it's part of your homework, is to find the best spot in your house to do it. Away from an air conditioner, or anything that, starts up with, you wouldn't want to do it near a refrigerator, anything that's gonna, machinery that's gonna, start buzzing at you.
Randy?
Yeah.
Debbie, I have 2 questions. One is, if we're comfortable doing it without the sheet music, is that okay? And would you actually prefer that? Do you recommend?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. As long as you're doing the part correctly, that would be great.
Okay. And also, how much do you want just our heads showing? Like, how much of our body should be showing when we're singing?
Yes. So I'm trying to see. So like, yeah. Well, what we want, if you're 2 feet away, and you can probably, everybody has a cell phone, that you can just take a quick picture of yourself, or hit the selfie button so you can look at yourself. And if you hold it about 2 feet away, what you're going to see is your head, a little bit of your neck, maybe up to the top of your shoulders, but we want to try not to get much more than that. So like Peter Brown, I'm seeing you're about where you should be, except your head's cut off. At the top. Pat Bailey, you're pretty good. Leah's great. Just to give you an idea. Barb, you'd want to be closer.
Right.
Ruth, you're pretty much where you need to be, maybe slightly closer. And Brandon, you'd be, in good shape. Although of course the direction is wrong. Danielle, you're pretty good, but too busy in the background.
So
yeah.
pretty much the way you look right now.
I don't know, because I can't see myself when I'm hosting.
It's got a lot of windows behind her.
Yes.
Yes,
She's got the right proportion of head and shoulder and neck.
Yeah.
But yes, we want to avoid the windows in the background if possible.
She also has a big stick coming out of the back of her head.
I'm not a good example of this tonight.
I want to rent a studio from Kathy Harris, though, because that lighting you have is, I don't know what it is, but it's so
There's a light right smack
colored.
above the thing, yeah. On one side, though, I have to go like
send
this.
us the.
And frankly, I mean, I would like people to use this as a challenge to overcome, the ability of being able to do this. However, I recognize that, given different people's circumstances and their equipment and whatever, somebody may say, try it and just can't do it. Please ask for help. I would rather you participate and us be able to help you than you drop out. I would really like to see all 24, 26 faces up there. I think, and I know that our congregation would love to see that. So
I assume that we can
send. Hold on. Dave Metz first.
I assume that we can send multiple takes if one of them is screwed up.
Absolutely. You can send me as many as you like, and then we can decide. I mean, how many times did it take you, Chris? Can I ask you? Do you want to be embarrassed? I'm sorry.
No, it's not embarrassing at all. I took about 9 takes before I was happy, and even then, I'd still really want to go back and redo some of the ones that I did.
Right, and that was after warming up, practicing, getting familiar with it, et cetera, et cetera. So Yeah. Now I heard other people had questions. I'm sorry. Who else?
Andy, how do we get the music that is
Okay.
accompanying?
So this thing that you're seeing on the screen, tomorrow I will be sending you a link to that. So within this folder, this is our Donna Nobis folder, and the two tracks that you're going to be needing for both practicing and singing with for recording are going to be included. So everybody who said that they wanted to participate will be getting communication from us tomorrow, or, well, I don't think it'll be late tonight, but either tonight or tomorrow.
Is OneDrive the standard for shared documents for everybody?
Say again?
For everything? OneDrive. As opposed
Well,
to
that's
OneDrive or Dropbox or anything else?
we're going to use OneDrive because I've got more room there, and we're going to have a lot of tracks I'm going to have to be fooling with. So, but I mean, if you have on your own, if you have a Google Drive or if you have a Dropbox or anything like that, you can send it to us any way you want. If you want to just attach the MP3, or excuse me, MP4 to an email, that's fine too.
Well, I was assuming they'd be big enough that we'd have to upload them.
Well, it
We
may
may.
very well be, and if you have multiple ones, you're definitely going to have to upload it somewhere. So, but whatever storage place you want to use, you're familiar with, you can send us a link to, so we can get it. It doesn't matter to us, however you want to do it. Michael, did you have something else?
Well, Jonathan had his hand up, so what?
Yeah, John Newell. Go ahead, John.
You might want to say, Randy, that people should do a certain amount of their own editing. It might be fine to send you 2 or 3 copies of something, but if you've made 12 of them because you don't really like any of them, make the 13th and send them that one. Don't be a good editor yourself.
Yes.
Well,
Send
yeah,
us your best 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think to your point though, John, and I'm just going to change one of your words so that I make sure that I understand what I think I hear. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. You shouldn't send us anything that you are embarrassed by. You think you did a bad job. I mean, you want us to send us, you are not going to actually edit. If you don't like it and if it's not complete, if you forgot to look at the camera and you're showing your cheek the whole time, but you sounded great, you're going to have to redo it. Okay? So you want to send us what you think, what you're proud of, as best as you can, because, because we can't edit those things out. Those things are things that we can't change. So you want to make sure your voice is clear, that there's no, like you said, the background noise and stuff like that. If all of a sudden you have a great take and then somebody rang your doorbell, you got to do it again. I mean, I had one of my cats was playing with a toy all of a sudden. I had a really good take, and you heard,
Yes.
So did I answer the question? And did I say something wrong, John? Are we okay?
No, that's fine. I may have used the word edit where you would have rather I used delete, but that's fine.
Right. Okay. Any other questions here?
Randy,
Yeah.
Michael.
Okay. Hey, Chris.
Michael.
Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to offer to be a backup tech support or something if people have. I mean, I'm not a genius about it, but I'm pretty good with phones and so on and computers. So if you want to, people need to call somebody that had a question, they can call me.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I got that now. All right. Any other questions before we go on?
What's Michael's phone number?
I'll put it in the chat. How about that?
Yeah, I do want to make sure though that how do I want to say it? I appreciate your offer very much, but we also have to make sure we're doing things consistently. because otherwise we're going to be getting things that we don't, So once you do yours, Michael, and so especially if you want to help like that, you might want to do yours fairly soon, because that way, if you run into any difficulties, then we can talk about it, and then you'll be the expert, right? So.
Okay. Doing things early is not my strong suit, but.
What was that? I didn't hear. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't have to.
He's not an early bird.
Yeah, it's you. But
would you rather I not give people my phone number? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, probably.
No, I want your phone number, Michael. Oh, I got it.
At least not this time. Not until you've done it successfully yourself. Okay,
Thanks
so
for the vote of
can I
confidence.
see a hand up, Peter?
Zoom has the potential to give you a virtual background. You'll see Sam is out there in the ether with the balloons. The tricky part about it, I think, is that it takes something blank, a green screen preferably behind
Yes.
it.
Right.
And I do have a green screen.
Do you want to try to use a background? My background, as you can see, is kind of busy.
Well, I would suggest, yes, you could play with that if you're going to actually use Zoom as part of one of your devices. So you could put it, a background behind you, or, but, the other thing is really just to look around your house where you have a blank wall, maybe. That sort of thing. Your best bet is to find a plain wall, that has paint on it, or like you said, not busy, not whatever. A door, depending on what your doors look, a door might, work, depending on how many, if it's just a plain painted door or whatever. It really depends. But you're going to have to probably walk. That's another thing besides checking your sound. You're going to have to, in different areas of your house, you're going to also have to do that probably with your camera.
I just want to say, Sam, you shouldn't use the balloons, because at one point you had 2 ears, one balloon each.
Mickey Mouse. David.
Yeah, I assume we should dress for the choir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yes,
that's one of the details that's on the sheet. Chris encouraged me that we have a lot of things to cover, and so the sheet will detail things like that. But one thing that we wanted to go over, if it's okay with you, is a little bit of things about how to sing and, your vocal production. We wanted to, so Chris is going to take over and just remind you of a couple things about that, because it is important.
Right. So this is putting my choir director hat back on after months of not doing anything like that. So I did make some a few markings on the 3-part sheet, and actually on the lead sheet as well. There's a couple of volume markings and a decrescendo marking. You can see it at the end of the first line there. And so what we're trying to do here is, as the voice parts, the second and third voice parts come in, we want the continuing lines to back down a bit so that the new voice entrance becomes the most prominent thing. So that the markings on the sheet, and it's also detailed in the document, are reflective of that intent. So when part 2 comes in, voice part 1 would be lower in volume. So voice part 2 here on the screen you can see is marked as a mezzo forte, and the voice part 1 is at a mezzo piano. So it's lower than the new voice part coming in. And similarly, when voice part 3 comes in, the same thing happens. So both of the continuing parts are at mezzo piano, and the new part coming in is mezzo forte. So that's the more prominent thing. There's also, in the document we have, just in case people haven't heard it or may have heard a different version, there is a pronunciation guide, Donna, Nobis, Pacem. So that's all detailed in the sheet. As well, we have some suggestions for enunciation and combining syllables. I suggest that the Nobis, the S on the Nobis get tied to the P on the Pacem, so it's Nobis Pacem. So there's no space at all in between the S and the P. And again, all this is documented and written out, but we just kind of wanted to call attention to a few of those salient points so that we're all trying to do the same thing with the musicality part of it. Let me just take a quick look here.
How about the octaves, Chris?
Yes, right. So,
I'll look at the here.
Right.
Right through.
This occurs obviously since we're all singing the exact same line, just different starting points. You see that there's these two octave jumps in the line there. We all, as singers, have a tendency to pound on or land heavily on the lower note because it's lower and more comfortable in our range. I'm going to encourage you to try to keep those two notes at the same vocal quality, and so that it doesn't sound significantly different. We want them to obviously be the correct pitch, but within the same vocal sound range, so that one of them doesn't come out, the lower one doesn't come out as more emphasized or heavier or darker or anything like that. So we're trying to keep the vocal placement and the vocal resonance all exactly the same, just the different pitch in the octave.
Mm-hmm. And
so that's also mentioned in the documentation.
Mm-hmm. Talking about pitch too, Chris, we had mentioned that I know when I listened to our version of Donna Nobis when we did it at Stephen Dolbin's memorial service at Linda Way's request, we were a bit under the tone. We were a bit flat, and it was voice going down. So the way you can prevent that, especially in this situation, is make sure you do spend some time warming up. On the sheet, Chris, we wrote some of the things that Chris had been doing recently in choir, and sure you know how to do that anyways. But really, it's really important, because if you're flat, again, that's not something we really can change too much, especially if it's just on the higher notes as opposed to the whole thing. So, all right, so keep an eye on intonation and think about that. You listen to yourself on, your first recording, you think, oh, I did pretty well, and you listen to it. Listen for all those things. Okay? And listen for rhythm, too.
Stop singing.
Say again?
Somebody was humming. Please don't do that.
Don't do it. It's distracting.
Okay.
Simply mute.
When you are listening and practicing, you want to try to listen to the organ, so you hear the chord changes that you're going to be singing to in the background, as well as try to match the changes of the singers that you're going to be singing with, so that we don't hear pa 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 pa, so that we hear pa, at the beginning of each measure, etc. So keep that in mind too. Anything else, Chris?
No, I think we covered it, and there's a lot of detail in the document. So after you've read that through and listened to it a couple times, if you still have questions, sure, give us a ring or give us a note.
Yeah, I think we've probably tired you out. I would suggest that we open it up to any other questions, and then we go home and go to sleep. And wake up tomorrow and all the stuff will be there, and then you're welcome to reach out with any questions that you have. I just don't want to keep you long. I mean, we're willing to stay as long as people have questions, but I know some of you might not want to continue to stay on too much longer. So
I have a question.
Yep.
So, call me ignorant, but what is the context of this music? Where did it come from? What is it about?
Yeah, well, it's basically grant us peace. I mean, it depends. This one, and I don't have the information in front of me, I'm sorry, but it came back from, I believe, the original tune came from back the 1800s, I believe. And then it's been...
No, it's attributed to Palestrina.
Mm-hmm.
Much
Yes.
earlier.
Much earlier.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. But if you look at other documentations, then they say it was much more recent, which it isn't, as you said.
Not being able to translate it, I mean, it sounds like it's about peace.
Yes.
Pacem.
Grant us peace. Or
Grant us peace.
Donna, give us peace. Peace.
Oh, I couldn't understand it. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Was there somebody else that had a question?
I do.
Who's I?
Sigrid does. And you said that in the practice tape, we will hear you and Chris singing along. In the final tape, are you there too, or are we on our own?
Nope.
No, we are definitely there. You will hear us some of us singing part 1, some of us singing part 2, and some of us singing part 3. The track that you will be listening to for recording purposes has about, I think, 8 or 9 tracks already included. So yes, we thought that a lot of people would appreciate that. Anybody else? No?
Going once, going twice. Oh,
Someone's waiting.
So
We're not gonna
I am so glad to have so much participation. Do not be discouraged. I hope that nobody is going to get home tonight or get off this call and say, oh, I don't want to do this. I mean, if you decide that, please let us know, and we won't keep on sending you things. However, I know you can all do it, and we are really excited about this, and I think, this is a great step for our choir, so I'm hoping that you'll give it a good shot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yep.
Thank you, Randy.
Very exciting.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
Night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye. Be well.
Good
Good night.
Hi, bye.
Leah.